Hey guys, and welcome back to the Game of Thrones Foreshadowing series. If you hadn't seen this series before, this isn't all technically foreshadowing, but a lot of parallels and hints as well mixed in there. So this is where we go back through the entire series of Game of Thrones and try to find those scenes of dialogue, those particular camera shots, or even transition scenes where they cut from one scene to another and try to show what I believe to be the actual payoff scene in a later episode or a later season. So now that we have Game of Thrones Season 7 in the books, we can jump right in right where we left off. We were on Season 1, Episode 9, Baylor. Hey guys, it's Chris and welcome back to SmokeScreen for the Foreshadowing series. I'm glad to get back to this series. I know a lot of you guys have been requesting it. And in our first scene, we have Ned and Varys having a conversation in the Black Sails.
You do me wrong, my lord. Your blood is the last thing I want.
I don't know what you want. Give it up, try to get.
So we open up with this conversation between Ned and Varys in the Black Sails after Ned had been arrested. And you have Ned really trying to question here what the hell Varys really wants. And at this point in the series, we're all kind of wondering that as well. Although we did have the hint before in a previous episode where Ned was talking to Illyrio as he had him over in King's Landing. And of course, during that same scene, Arya was hiding in the Dragon Skull and heard them talking and later on went to warn Ned. So Ned is very distrusting of Varys here. He's asking him straight up what he wants. And Varys says this.
What do you want? Tell me. No riddles, no stories. Tell me, what do you want?
Peace.
Sansa pleaded so sweetly for your life, it would be a shame to throw it away.
You want me to serve the woman who murdered my king, who butchered my men, who crippled my son?
I want you to serve the realm.
So I think Varys is straight up telling us what he wants here. He does say he wants peace. Now he does want some chaos and war to get to that final peace. But the idea here, of course, is later on we see a conversation very similar. This is a parallel with Tyrion in Season 5.
What is it you want exactly?
Peace. I don't believe in saviors. I believe men of talent have a part to play in the war to come. The Seven Kingdoms need someone stronger than Tommen, but gentler than Stannis. A ruler loved by millions with a powerful army and a right family name.
Good luck finding him.
Who said anything about him?
So yeah, I do think that he wanted Ned to be a part of this Targaryen restoration. He did say he wanted Ned to serve the realm. So I think he was trying to actually keep Ned alive and try to give him some advice here. You know, go out here, just tell them that you were being treasonous, say Joffrey's the true king, until a later date where we can kind of rectify that situation with Daenerys Targaryen. And of course with Ned's nephew Jon, it's hard to say how that would have turned out, him being a Targaryen himself, so maybe Ned would have helped out later on after Stannis died, but I do think Varys respected Ned for his honor and thought he had a place in the wars to come. And of course one more little line that Ned said right before Varys left this conversation, Ned said this.
I grew up with soldiers. I learned how to die a long time ago.
So of course this was a little bit more build up to this very episode itself, and remember when you first watched this episode, you never thought this was going to happen, but of course later on we did see this. Alright, in our next scene we have Robb and Catelyn and company in the Stark army as they march south, and of course they are coming across the twins for the first time, and we get our first interaction with Walder Frey. But first we have this little conversation between Catelyn, Robb, Theon, etc. about how they're going to approach Walder Frey to get his permission to cross the Trident.
Enter the twins alone. He'll sell you to the Lannisters as he likes.
I'll throw you in a dungeon or slit your throat.
I have known Lord Walder since I was a girl. He would never harm me.
So Theon says he may slit your throat, and for context in that same conversation, Catelyn says he would never harm me, but of course later on we would see this. And next we see Walder Frey for the first time, and Catelyn goes in to kind of bargain with him about crossing the Trident, and good old Walder says this.
You forget yourself. Lady Stark is...
Who asked you? You're not Lord Frey yet, not until I die. Do I look dead to you?
Now, of course, we all kind of suspected Walder Frey may die. He was an old man, but we never got to see what was coming to Walder Frey until Season 6 when we saw this.
My name is Arya Stark. I want you to know that. The last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
And next we head to Castle Black, where we see Jon receiving Longclaw and having this conversation with Lord Commander Mormont.
Bear. Someone had a new pommel made, called Longclaw. Works as well for a wolf as a bear, I think.
This is Valyrian steel.
The man's sword. Take a man to wield it.
So Lord Commander Mormont tells Jon that's a man's sword and it takes a man to handle it, and of course this is during Jon's growth process as well. But more importantly here, Jon mentions that this is Valyrian steel, really giving us the idea there's something special about it, and of course later on we would see this. So as Jon grew up and later on became Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, he did kill a White Walker with the same Valyrian steel blade that Lord Commander Mormont gave him for saving his life in Season 1 when the Whites attacked him at Castle Black. So this was really telling us right from the get-go how important Valyrian steel would be. Also during this same conversation, after the problems between Alliser Thorne and Jon, Jorah Mormont says this.
Presented to King's Landing yesterday. The hand that your wolf tore off that thing's wrist, I've ordered Thorne to lay it at the feet of this boy king.
Now, of course, that would never come to fruition. The hand actually did rot on the way, so it was never able to be taken to Joffrey. And of course, in the show, we never saw Alliser Thorne anyway. We only saw Jorah from the Night's Watch go to King's Landing. But of course, this was the first attempt at what we saw in Season 7 when we saw this. And next, while we're still at Castle Black, we do have a conversation between Jon and Sam, and we hear this.
Is your brother Robb? What? What about him? He's heading south. To war. I should be there. I should be with him.
Now, of course, this puts Jon in a tough position to have to choose between his vows at the Night's Watch and going to help his brother Robb during the War of the Five Kings. But specifically, Sam tells Jon that Robb is riding south as king in the north, and Jon specifically says, I should be there with him. But later on, in fact, we do see this.
This message was sent to me by Samwell Tarly. He was my brother at the Night's Watch. He's discovered proof that Dragonstone sits on a mountain of dragonglass. I received this a few days ago from Dragonstone. Lord Tyrion has invited me to Dragonstone to meet with Daenerys. And I'm going to accept.
So I think that was a little bit of foreshadowing that Jon would in fact be king of the north himself and in fact ride south. Now, of course, his main reason is the White Walkers in the war to come, as far as the Long Night and trying to get Dragonglass from Dragonstone when Dany arrived in Westeros, but he's also still dealing with the damn Lannisters. And next we have the conversation that Catelyn has with Robb in the tent after she had visited Walder Frey at the Twins, and she's laying out all the demands Walder Frey had made, and specifically she says this.
And Arya will marry his son Waldron when they both come of age.
She won't be happy about that.
So basically Catelyn says here specifically that Arya will have to marry Waldron Frey, essentially becoming a Frey. And of course later on in Season 7, we finally get to see this.
Leave one wolf alive, and the sheep are never safe.
Tell them the North remembers. Tell them winter came for House Frey.
So I do think that was kind of an indirect way of them telling us that she would in fact become a Frey, just not in the way we thought. So anyway guys, I'll leave it right here for this particular episode. I usually do every episode in about 3 videos just to try to keep these a little bit shorter so I can get them out more often. But in the meantime, thank you for all the support, especially to you guys on Patreon, and a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers, Griffin, Volga10, Lala Gig, Kissa Powell, Marylin Bentley, JoAnna, Marc Joseph aka The Snow in Winterfell, Anonymous, Colliday, Goska, HoonJive, Nicki Snow, Low Horton, Erin Habig, Dean Bwell, John Carey, Anastasia, Jason Landers, Rhiaanon, DTizSmith, MJW, and Carole Brown. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the support. And to everybody out there in YouTube land, thank you for all the likes, shares, comments, etc. Be sure to subscribe to get everything, and be sure to click that damn notification bell so you're notified when I drop a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.